Private shares fund is one way to do that. It's up nearly 46% since its inception, though it's down about 8% so far this year. Christian Munafo manages that fund. He is the chief investment officer with Liberty Street Advisors. Christian, it's great to have you on. And I'm just going to, before I get into broader outlook, when I look at your top 10 holdings, two of them are space companies, Axiom Space and SpaceX, which we know is one of the most highly valued private companies in the world. Your take on those companies or that sector as you look to 2024?
Yeah, great to see you again, Morgan. Yeah, I enjoy listening to your manifest. I would add Relativity Space, too, had a very successful launch this year of the first 3D printed rocket and use of liquid methane in this hemisphere. Yeah, look, the space economy for us is a significant opportunity. We've been in SpaceX for about 5 years. We've been an Axiom for several years. We think there's a massive opportunity when it comes to launch, infrastructure. Obviously, national security, as you mentioned, is increasingly important. But there's a lot of other services and analytics and experimentation going on in the space economy as well. So we just see it as a massive investment opportunity. And unfortunately, as you noted, there's not many ways to get access to it. It's one of the key themes for us in our strategy.
Okay. Largest IPO backlog on record is what you're forecasting or what you expect as we head into 2024. What does that mean for you and for your fund? And what does that mean for the IPO pipeline, perhaps finally getting back to life in a more meaningful way?
Yeah, look, it certainly seems like as we head into 2024, sentiment is shifting from the investment side as well as to the liquidity side. And in conversations we're having with our portfolio companies, with investment bankers and key investors in the ecosystem, it does appear that there's going to be more activity in 2024. I wouldn't expect the floodgates to open. It'll be measured. There will be different waves of it. But we are absolutely expecting there to be companies test the public markets. We think we're going to span a variety of different sectors. You know, we have 18 companies in our portfolio that were recently listed by a third party called CB Insights as likely candidates. Next year, we'll see what happens. But I'll give you some names. I know it's something that your subscribers and viewers would like to hear. So there's cybersecurity companies we think are prime candidates, such as Arctic Wolf. Rubrik, I saw, Morgan, was on your list, even companies like SNCC. There's also a car sharing company you noted called Toro, which is another one of our holdings. There's obviously the data management companies and artificial intelligence players like Databricks, another very high quality company that's expected to potentially go out this year. A company called Betterment, which is in the kind of next generation financial advisory. And then you mentioned SpaceX. And so we'll see if they try to take Starlink public, which is, for your viewers' purposes, is their satellite internet constellation business. There's been rumors about that for years. We'll see what happens. As you know, Morgan, it's becoming a very large business independent of SpaceX's launch capabilities. And then there's other companies like Stripe and Reddit, which are other likely candidates we would expect.
I know Elon Musk threw some cold water on the possibility of taking Starlink public anytime soon, just recently on X, but who knows? We will see. It's certainly one that investors would be very hungry for. With all the names that you just mentioned, what's very striking to me, and this is what we saw in terms of the handful of companies that did go public this year, you used the word quality, high quality. What is this going to mean in terms of the companies that do come to market potentially? The need for the ability, or at least the path to profitability, cash flow being higher quality. Are lower quality or more riskier types of startups going to be able to make that transition next year, or is this really still going to be a bifurcated market?
No, we think it's going to continue to be bifurcated, and you hit it on the head. It's a balance between growth and profitability. Investors don't just want to see growth, and frankly, they don't just also want to see profitability. They want to see a balance of the two. And I think the good news is if you look at the backlog of companies that are in the queue, you have one of the highest quality backlogs we've seen in a couple decades. And so we think that many of these companies are exhibiting superior operating metrics than what we've seen in prior IPO waves. Again, we need to be patient. We need to be disciplined. Investors need to be selective, and they will be. But it will continue to be bifurcated, and the best companies will be the ones you'll see go out first.
Okay. We talk a lot about how much public market performance matters to sentiment for startups to want to actually go public as well. But I was meeting with some private equity executives not that long ago. One of the things they pointed out to me is that when it comes to private companies in the private market, the S&P doesn't matter as much as the Russell 2000. Is that true? And if we are having a rally that potentially continues into 2024, how much does that set the stage?
It absolutely does. Yeah, I mean, that's actually one of the benchmarks we use for our strategy, because the companies we focus on in the late stage venture and growth segment of the private markets are typically doing hundreds of millions to billions in revenue. It's not your, prototypical two guys or gals in a garage in Palo Alto trying to whiteboard the next great idea. These are very large operating businesses, but their market caps are more similar to what you'd see in the Russell 2000 as opposed to the S&P 500. And so that's where you see similarities there. And so to your point, we think that the recent run-up in the Russell actually is a great signal for our portfolio and our fund and our clients, as well as for other investors in this ecosystem.